Hi all, Hipper here. So it finally happened. All the Azur Lane commanders are available in the shop. And actually this time you can buy them individually as well, which is quite awesome. Now they are expensive, and buying this 46,000 doubloons combo here is obviously an option. I wouldn't do it personally. I got them all because I was a community contributor at the time, so I got them for free. But if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't have bought all of them. So in this video, I'll go through every single commander, and I'll tell you what I think, and you can take it from there, basically. I will just mention that the ships I wouldn't spend money on. They are just copies of the other ships in the game. There's nothing special about them, and actually Baltimore is now, the Azur Lane Baltimore is actually worse than the Tech Tree Baltimore at the moment, because the Tech Tree Baltimore got buffed at the last update. So Azur Lane ships, I wouldn't bother. Skins, up to you. And let's just go through the commanders here. So I'll start out with what is my favorite Azur Lane commander, and that is obviously Azur Lane Baltimore here. And her base trait gives you 6% improved rudder shift time if she's fully upgraded like mine here. And I use her on a lot of cruisers to make them more agile. But of course, if agile cruisers aren't your thing, then her value diminishes quite a bit. So you can have a look here at her special skill, which is absolute ammunition. So it gives you better penetration and like a shorter fuse time. So obviously the penetration is nice, but the fuse time is a bit more situational in my opinion. So don't expect too much from that. Okay, up next is Azur Lane Atago, and I had high hopes for this commander, and obviously I've upgraded her a lot and put a lot of effort into her, but in the end I don't use her on any ships, with Susuya as pretty much the only exception, and even then Mikawa would be almost as good. So her base skill gives you less torpedo detection, which is an awesome skill. So she's a great inspiration for other commanders, especially destroyer builds, torpedo destroyer builds. And that's the thing with most of the Azur Lane commanders. They're probably not the best choice for a primary commander, but for inspirations, they are usually always great. So Atago's special skill here is Arsonist, which pretty much makes you a fire-breathing dragon. So it increases your fire chance and your HE gun damage. And the downside is, of course, you take more damage. So next up is Fuso here, and as you can see, I haven't put any effort into her because I don't think she's really worth it. And she has a very nice base trait of an increased about 3% fire chance for battleships, so that'll be good on Nelson or something like that. But her special skill here is like a bit of extra HP and a bit of less like incoming damage. I don't think it's worth upgrading her, considering how expensive that would be. Alright, up next is a must-have commander if you're into smoke cruisers. Because Belfast is a really good inspiration, and she's actually also a very good primary commander. So if you like Fiji or Edinburgh or even Amalfi, I would definitely consider getting Belfast. She has she lowers the detectability when you're firing from smoke by a lot. Like first of all, her primary base trait here is like up to about 20%, I think. But then she gets this smokescreen trait as well that enlarges your smokescreen radius and lowers the detection even further. But you have to give up a smoke to use it. Alright, so that brings us to another must-have in my opinion, that is Nelson. She increases the fire damage on your battleships like crazy, and I'll get into her perk in a minute. But first let's just look at her base trait here, which is reduced incoming damage, which is always useful. Not super useful, but like her strength is really in her Big 7 perk that I'll look at here, and as you can see, it increases your AP shells damage and your AT shells damage by 16%. And then obviously you are losing out of a lot of penetration. So it basically makes any battleship you put her on into an HE slinger, and a very good one at that. The AP still works, but you are losing out on quite a bit of penetration there. 15% is a lot. Nevertheless, I still think she is a must, especially for Nelson. Okay, next up is Hood, and I don't know what to think about her. I haven't put any resources into her because I don't really see any point. I don't like Hood in the first place. I don't think it works very well as an agile battleship, and that's really what this girl here does. She increases the speed of Hood, and I don't think that would make much difference. As you can see here, increases it by probably around 5%. Meh, I don't think it's worth investing insignia and promotion order and commendations into this one here, honestly. And that brings us to another dot here. I think Queen Elizabeth, no, I haven't put any effort into her because I look through her skills and I'm not interested. The reload time is tiny. If you upgrade her completely, you can hit 2%. And that's really, like, who wants that? Not me, anyway. So if we look at her like special perk here in the second row, it's called Skywatch, and yeah, it gives you longer duration on your spotters and an extra spotter. But I mean, I'm not very interested in that, and she is not worth to put resources in my opinion. So Azur Lane Hipper was another commander I had high hopes for, and I mean, she's not bad at all, but she's not a must in my opinion. Her base trait is good, minus 10% burning damage to your ship. That's good for an anti-fire build on a battleship, for example. But I don't think that her perks in themselves are that interesting. I mean, minus 15% incoming damage, sure, it's nice, but if you have an agile build on your Hipper instead, you can just avoid those shells anyway. So I don't see much point in this lady here, unfortunately. I do have her upgraded very highly though, but yeah, that was mostly just to test out how good she actually was. And another lady I should have probably kept my hands off is this one here, Admiral Graf Spee. She's 15 Legendary 1, and I've probably used her 3 or 4 battles, but I don't see the point of her really. I mean, you get more HP when you use your repair consumable, which is nice, but I mean, it's not worth upgrading a whole new commander over that. And if we look at her special perk here, Ghost, your detectability goes down a lot. And of course, that's nice if you like detectability builds on your German cruisers, but it's probably not the best line to spec into that on, in my opinion. So I would probably avoid this one. Okay, next up is Scharnhorst, and if you're a battleship player, I'd say she's a must. Primarily down to her base trait here that improves your dispersion. And of course you can use her on cruisers as well, and even destroyers, but I wouldn't do that. But on cruisers and battleships, and she can give you up to 4% better dispersion, which is great, and she's a great inspiration. And she's also quite a good primary commander for Scharnhorst or Gneisenau or any German battleship really, with torpedoes that is, so not Bismarck. Because you get this perk here that increases your torpedo speed and your torpedo range. And if you use a inspiration of Gleaves here, which I do, you can increase the torpedo speed, like range, even more, which is what I've done. And you can get it out to probably around 8 kilometers as opposed to the standard 6. So I'd say that she is a good buy. So lastly here we have Dunkirk, and the base trait is kind of bad, I think. decreased flooding damage. Yeah, that's nice, but it doesn't really happen that often. So yeah, I haven't put any resources into her because one, I don't play French battleships a lot, and two, I don't really think she's that awesome. And the frontal fire skill here is nice. Like, you'll be able to switch your shell types really fast at the expense of less damage, and that is a nice perk, but I don't think that it's worth investing too much into this commander here over the more standard ones for the French battleship line. So that gives us Nelson as a must-have, and Scharnhorst as another must-have, and we'll go down to Baltimore, again another must-have if you're into agile cruisers, and Belfast, also a must-have in my opinion, and the last one here is Atago, a must-have, if anything just for her use as an inspiration on destroyers. Alright, so that was my little walkthrough of the Azur Lane commanders here, and as you can see, I've invested quite heavily into some of them, and I have played them quite a bit. So I know a lot of people says that they are mandatory to do well, and I don't think so. Some of them are very good inspirations, and for example, Belfast is very good. Nelson is also very good, and Scharnhorst is good, and Azur Lane Baltimore is also very good if you like agile cruisers. If not, then she's more of an optional commander. And then none of them are going to give you like the upper hand in any way. Perhaps Belfast a little bit, because that decreased smoke detection is really powerful and can really be used in a lot of circumstances. But other than that, have a look at the commanders and look at this video and other people's videos, I might add, and just make up your own mind of what you think you would need. Because as with any girl, they are quite an investment, just like in real life. So give it some thought before you decide to splash 50,000 doubloons or whatever on the largest pack, for example.